Most people pouring cereal for their grandkids this morning have no idea what independent laboratories keep finding in the box. The Environmental Working Group commissioned certified lab tests on dozens of popular oat cereals, oatmeals, and granolas pulled straight from American grocery store shelves. Glyphosate, the active chemical in Roundup weed killer, came back in all but 2 of 45 products made with conventionally grown oats. Not on the farm, in the finished cereal going into the bowl every single morning. And here's what nobody's telling you. Glyphosate is no longer the only chemical in that bowl. In a peer-reviewed study, researchers found a second agricultural chemical called Chlormequat, a substance that was never approved for use on food crops grown in America in 92% of the non-organic oat products they tested. Then they tested people. 4 out of 5 Americans tested had it in their bodies. One cereal in this countdown tested at 2,837 parts per billion of glyphosate, nearly 18 times higher than the children's health benchmark set by EWG scientists. You've had it in your pantry. You may have it there right now. We're counting down all 10 brands from concerning to genuinely shocking, and finishing with the 3 brands that actually test clean and are worth buying. Let's get into it. Number 10. Market Pantry Instant Oatmeal. This is Target's house brand, the one that feels like a step above the other store brands because the store around it feels more considered. Clean packaging, reasonable price, a shopper's quiet assumption that Target holds its suppliers to a higher standard. Now look at the actual test results. When EWG sent Market Pantry Strawberries and Cream Instant Oatmeal to a certified laboratory, the first sample came back at 120 parts per billion of glyphosate. The second sample of the exact same product came back at 520. Same label, same shelf, more than 4 times the contamination from one packet to the next. That inconsistency is not a fluke. It's the signature of how private label food actually works. Target doesn't grow oats. Target doesn't mill them. Target designs a label and awards a supply contract. And the product inside that box is produced by whoever won that contract at that price point in that procurement cycle. When the contract rotates, the oats rotate with it. The farms change, the sourcing changes, the residue levels change, and the label stays exactly the same. There is no glyphosate disclosure requirement, no residue testing requirement beyond federal minimums, and no signal of any kind to the person putting the box in the cart. One sample at 120, one at 520. You're not buying a product, you're buying a lottery ticket with a picture of strawberries on it. And the next brand runs that same lottery at the largest scale on Earth. Number 9. Great Value. This is Walmart's house brand, the one that fills carts because families are stretching grocery money, and oatmeal and granola are supposed to be the affordable, sensible choice. That reasoning is completely sound. The problem is what the testing found. In EWG's peer-reviewed 2024 investigation, Great Value Oats and Honey Granola tested above 100 parts per billion of Chlormequat. That's the chemical linked in animal studies to reproductive and developmental harm, the one that was never approved for crops grown on American soil. So how does it end up in an American granola bag? Through imports. Since 2018, federal rules have allowed Chlormequat-treated oats grown abroad to be imported and sold in the United States. Walmart is the largest retail corporation on Earth, but Walmart doesn't fish its own oceans, and it doesn't farm its own oats. It awards contracts, and those contracts go to whoever delivers product at the lowest cost per unit while meeting the legal minimum. Sourcing oats from farms that skip chemical desiccants costs more. Testing above the regulatory minimum costs more. Every one of those costs works against winning the Walmart contract, so they get cut. The savings on the price tag came with something extra that was never listed on the label. Budget price, imported chemistry. And the next brand is the one that stings, because it's sold in the natural food aisle. Number 8. Barbara's. This is the brand with the puffin on the box, the one sold in health food stores in the natural section, founded by a 17-year-old girl named Barbara in California in 1971, built on a promise of no artificial ingredients and honest baking. That origin story is real. It's also 50 years out of date. Barbara's Bakery was acquired by Weetabix, the British cereal giant, back in 1986. And Weetabix itself was later swallowed by Post Holdings, one of the largest packaged food corporations in America, the same company that owns Fruity Pebbles and Honey Bunches of Oats. The natural food store shelf placement stayed. The independent company behind it disappeared decades ago. Now the lab results. EWG's testing found Barbara's multigrain spoonfuls at 340 parts per billion of glyphosate in one sample and 300 in another. Both samples roughly double the 160 parts per billion benchmark that EWG scientists consider protective for children's health. Higher than some of the mainstream supermarket brands, this company positions itself above. A parent walks past the regular cereal aisle, pays extra in the natural section, sees the wholesome bird on the box, and carries home more glyphosate than the cheap stuff they were trying to avoid. The health halo is doing the selling. The supply chain underneath it belongs to a conglomerate. And the next brand took that trick even further. It put the promise directly into its own name. Number 7. Back to Nature. Read that name again. Back to Nature. An entire marketing philosophy compressed into 3 words on a granola bag. Founded in 1960, positioned as the simple, plant-based, non-GMO alternative to industrial food. Here's who has actually owned it. For years, Back to Nature operated under Mondelez, the global snack conglomerate behind Oreo and Chips Ahoy. In 2017, it was sold to B&G Foods, a New Jersey packaged food corporation. In 2022, it was sold again, this time to Barilla, the Italian pasta giant. 3 corporate parents in under 6 years. Whatever this brand was in 1960, what's on the shelf today is a logo that gets passed between multinationals like a trading card. And the testing reflects the industrial supply chain behind it. In EWG's first round of laboratory testing, Back to Nature Classic Granola produced one of the highest glyphosate readings of any product tested, several times above the children's health benchmark. A granola named Back to Nature, carrying one of the heaviest doses of weed killer residue in the entire test. The name is not a description, it's a target market. If this is already changing how you look at your breakfast shelf, stay with us because you're coming up on the halfway point, and the biggest names in America, the ones sitting in millions of pantries right now, are all still ahead. Number 6. Quaker Dinosaur Eggs Instant Oatmeal. This one is engineered for children, and that's exactly why it belongs on this list. Candy-colored dinosaur eggs that hatch in hot water, a cartoon-friendly box, a product designed so kids ask for it by name. Quaker knows precisely who's eating this, and in EWG's laboratory testing, Quaker Dinosaur Eggs Instant Oatmeal delivered some of the highest glyphosate readings in the entire investigation, far above the level EWG scientists consider protective for a child. Now hold 2 numbers next to each other. EWG's children's health benchmark is 160 parts per billion. The EPA's legal ceiling for glyphosate on oats is 30,000. 30,000. That legal limit was calculated for one chemical in one food for a healthy adult in isolation. It was never designed for a 40-pound child who eats oatmeal at breakfast, an oat snack bar after school, and toast from glyphosate-positive bread at dinner, day after day, year after year, while their body is still developing. Exposure stacks. The regulatory math doesn't. Quaker is owned by PepsiCo, a corporation with global revenue measured in the tens of billions. Sourcing cleaner oats for a children's product is not a financial impossibility at that scale. It's a margin decision. They made it. And the next brand on this list is one your grandkids can identify from across the room. Number 5. Lucky Charms. The Rainbow Box, the Leprechaun, the Marshmallows, General Mills has been selling this cereal to American children since 1964. In EWG's laboratory testing, Lucky Charms came back at 400 parts per billion of glyphosate, 2.5 times the children's benchmark, in a product that is almost entirely consumed by children. But 2022 is when this brand's story turned strange. That spring, thousands of Americans began reporting the same thing: nausea, vomiting, diarrhea after eating Lucky Charms. A consumer safety website called iwaspoisoned.com logged more than 8,500 reports naming this one cereal in a single year, compared to just a few dozen the year before. The FDA received hundreds of complaints and opened a formal investigation. Here's how it ended. The agency closed the investigation without identifying any cause, stating that despite extensive testing, it could not find a contaminant. General Mills said its own review found no evidence linking the cereal to the illnesses. No recall was ever issued. And to be clear, no one has proven the cereal made those people sick. But sit with what that outcome actually means. Thousands of people reported the same symptoms after the same product. The federal system did its testing, and the answer that came back was, "We cannot tell you what happened." That's not reassurance. That's the ceiling of what the current system can even see. The box kept smiling through all of it. And the next brand doesn't just smile, it wears a halo shaped like your heart. Number 4, Cheerios, the yellow box. The single most recognizable cereal in America, marketed for decades around one organ, the human heart. The little O's, the heart-shaped bowl on the front, the cholesterol claims. Generations of doctors' patients switched to Cheerios because the box told them it was the responsible choice. Now the laboratory record. In EWG's testing, original Cheerios samples came back between 470 and 530 parts per billion of glyphosate, roughly 3 times the Children's Health benchmark in every sample tested. Then in 2024, the peer-reviewed Chlormequat study found Cheerios above 100 parts per billion of that second chemical too. 2 different agricultural chemicals, 1 yellow box. That same year, General Mills was named in a class action lawsuit over Chlormequat in Cheerios products. The company has stated that all its products adhere to regulatory requirements and that food safety is its top priority. Both things can be technically true at once because the regulations themselves are the loophole. Legal does not mean tested against a child's development. Legal means below a ceiling written for a different question entirely. And this isn't the brand's first collision between the label and the contents. In 2015, General Mills recalled 1.8 million boxes of Cheerios and Honey Nut Cheerios that were labeled gluten-free but actually contained wheat after production at a California plant went wrong. The halo on the box is marketing. The numbers from the lab are chemistry. 3 brands left on the avoid list, and they are the 3 biggest names in American breakfast. If you eat oatmeal for your heart, for your cholesterol, for your blood sugar, the next one is the one you're eating. Number 3, Quaker old-fashioned oats, the round canister, the man in the hat, 100% whole grain oats, 1 single ingredient on the label, the closest thing the breakfast aisle has to a health food with a century and a half of trust behind it. Millions of seniors eat this specific product every morning because their doctor told them oatmeal was the smart choice. The doctor was right about oats. Here's what the doctor doesn't know about these oats. In the 2024 peer-reviewed study, Quaker old-fashioned oats posted the single highest Chlormequat reading of every product tested, 291 parts per billion, higher than any granola, higher than any children's cereal, the #1 result in the entire investigation, in the product with the purest reputation. And that sits on top of the earlier glyphosate record, where Quaker oat products tested as high as 930 parts per billion across EWG's sampling. Nearly 6 times the children's benchmark, in a canister whose ingredient list reads, in full, whole grain rolled oats. Because here's the trap. The ingredient label discloses what was added to the product. It says nothing about what was sprayed on it. A 1-ingredient food can still carry 2 chemicals, and no law requires anyone to tell you. Quaker, owned by PepsiCo, was also named in a Chlormequat lawsuit in 2024, which was later dismissed, and the company says it maintains a comprehensive food safety system and follows all regulatory guidelines. Every word of that can be true, and the 291 parts per billion is still in the bowl. 1 ingredient on the label, 2 chemicals in the lab results. That's the gap this entire video is about. And it gets worse, because the #2 brand is the best-selling cereal in the entire country. Number 2, Honey Nut Cheerios. Not just a popular cereal, for years the #1 best-selling cereal in America. The friendly bee, the honey drizzle, the same heart health halo as the yellow box, plus a flavor kids actually ask for. This is the compromise cereal, the one parents buy because it feels like meeting their kids halfway between candy and health food. Now the numbers. In EWG's laboratory testing, Honey Nut Cheerios came back at 833 parts per billion of glyphosate in one sample and 894 in another. more than 5 times the Children's Health benchmark, among the highest readings of any mainstream cereal in the entire investigation in the single most purchased box in the country. EWG researchers made one more comparison that's hard to forget. When they weighed the contamination against the nutrition, they noted that samples contained more glyphosate by weight than some of the added vitamins printed proudly on the label. Read that again. More weed killer than some of the vitamins they advertise. And while the front of the box says honey, the ingredient list tells you the second ingredient is sugar. The honey is a flavor note and a mascot. The sweetness is industrial. The oats are conventionally sourced, and the halo is doing work the contents can't. This is what #1 selling means in the American cereal aisle. Not the cleanest product, the best defended shelf position. And yet, the single worst number we found doesn't belong to Honey Nut Cheerios. It belongs to a box most people consider the adult, sensible choice. Number 1. Quaker Oatmeal Squares. The brand's own website frames it as the hearty, wholesome choice, the cereal for grown-ups who read labels, crunchy squares of whole grain oats for people who think they've outgrown the sugary stuff. In EWG's laboratory testing, Quaker Oatmeal Squares came back at 2,837 parts per billion of glyphosate, the highest level found in the entire investigation. Nearly 18 times EWG's Children's Health benchmark, not a rounding error above the line. 18 times over it, in a product wearing the most responsible costume in the aisle. And glyphosate isn't the only entry on this product's record. In December 2023, Quaker announced a recall of granola bars and granola cereals over potential salmonella contamination. Weeks later, in January 2024, the recall expanded to dozens of additional products, and Quaker Oatmeal Squares cereal was on that expanded list. The FDA has since terminated the recall, meaning the process was completed. But think about the sequence. Record-setting herbicide residue in independent testing. Then a company-wide contamination recall sweeping dozens of products off shelves. All under a parent company, PepsiCo, with the resources to run one of the cleanest supply chains on the planet, if that were the priority. It isn't. The priority is what the priority always is at that scale. Volume, margin, and a label that keeps you from asking questions. Now, one thing in fairness, because it matters, EWG's most recent rounds of testing show glyphosate levels in many oat products have dropped significantly since 2018. Quaker Oatmeal Squares itself fell from nearly 3,000 parts per billion to under 500 in later samples. But notice why. Not because a regulator forced it, because independent labs kept publishing numbers, the public kept reacting, and companies started quietly adjusting their sourcing to make the headlines stop. The system that protected you was not the FDA, and it was not the EPA. It was the testing, which tells you exactly what to look for when you buy. So here are the 3 brands that don't just avoid the problem, they prove it. Best option number 3, Backroads Organic. This small family company started out baking granola to serve guests at their own bed and breakfast, and it became the first breakfast cereal company in America to earn the glyphosate-residue-free certification from the Detox Project. Understand what that certification actually is, because it's the standard this whole video has been building toward. The USDA Organic Seal verifies a process. It confirms the farmer didn't intentionally apply glyphosate. It does not require testing the finished product, which is why traces from drift and cross-contamination have shown up even in some organic samples. Glyphosate residue-free certification verifies a result. Independent laboratories test the actual finished food multiple times a year, and residues must come back below detection limits. Backroads carries both, USDA Organic and the residue-free seal, on top of non-GMO project verification. Process and result, both verified by people who don't work for the company. The honest trade-offs are real. Backroads is a small operation, mostly granolas and oats rather than colorful cold cereals. Distribution leans on natural food stores and online ordering, and the price is higher than the conglomerate brands. That's what food costs when a family's name is on it instead of a procurement contract. And if you want that same standard from a brand that shows you the actual farm, the next one prints the evidence on every bag. Best option number 2, 1 Degree Organics. This company does something almost no other cereal brand on earth bothers to do. Every package carries a QR code, and when you scan it, you see the actual farm that grew the oats in that specific bag. Not the country, not the region, the farm and the family working it. 1 Degree visits every farm they source from, uses sprouted organic oats, and has their products third-party verified glyphosate-free through laboratory testing, with the company stating its oats are also free of Chlormequat, the second chemical from this video. Sprouting matters for more than marketing. Sprouted oats are partially germinated before processing, which many people find easier to digest, and the process starts from clean grain because contaminated conventional oats would never survive this company's sourcing filter in the first place. The ingredient list on their rolled oats reads, in full, sprouted organic oats. 1 ingredient on the label, and this time, laboratory verification that 1 ingredient is actually all that's in there. That's the difference between this canister and the one at number 3 on the avoid list. Same simplicity on the front, opposite reality behind it. You'll pay more than you'd pay for the man in the hat, and you may need a larger grocery store or an online order to find it. What you get back is the thing no conglomerate brand in this video offers: proof. And the number 1 spot goes to the brand that made proof available in nearly every grocery store in America. Best option number 1, Nature's Path. If the first 2 best options asked you to change where you shop, this one doesn't. Nature's Path is the most practical, clean recommendation in the entire cereal aisle because it's already in mainstream grocery stores coast to coast, sitting a few feet from the brands on the avoid list. Nature's Path is family-owned and fiercely independent. The founding family has publicly refused acquisition offers for decades, at a time when, as you've now seen, nearly every natural brand in this video sold itself to a conglomerate. No Post, no PepsiCo, no General Mills, no private equity restructuring. The same family, still holding the pen on sourcing decisions. Everything they make is certified organic, and when EWG ran its laboratory testing, Nature's Path products came back with no detectable glyphosate in some products and only trace amounts in others, all far below the children's health benchmark and dramatically below the conventional brands on the avoid list. One honest note, because this channel doesn't do halos, organic is not a magic force field. Drift from neighboring conventional fields is real, which is why even a few organic products industry-wide have shown trace residues. The difference is scale. Traces at the edge of detection are a different universe from 18 times a children's health benchmark. And Nature's Path pairs the organic seal with the kind of sourcing discipline that keeps their numbers at the clean end of every test they've appeared in. Cold cereals, granolas, hot oatmeal, kids options, widely available, at a price premium that's real but modest. If you change only one thing after this video, this is the one-step version of that change. Before you close this, here's the rule worth keeping, and it fits on a sticky note. For anything made of oats or wheat, the front of the box tells you nothing. The seals tell you everything. Look for 2 things together: the USDA organic seal, which covers how the crop was grown, and a residue testing certification, glyphosate-residue-free from the Detox Project, or third-party verification like BioChecked, which covers what's actually in the finished food. One is a promise about the process, the other is proof about the result. When a product carries both, the 2 chemicals in this video effectively disappear from your bowl. When a product carries neither, you now know exactly what the testing keeps finding because you've seen the numbers. And remember the one fact that reframes the entire aisle. A single ingredient on the label does not mean a single substance in the box. The label lists what was added. It will never list what was sprayed. Nobody is coming to fix that for you. The EPA is currently considering allowing Chlormequat on American-grown oats, not banning it. The testing that dragged these numbers into daylight came from independent laboratories, not regulators. And your body starts reducing its chemical load as soon as you stop adding to it. The next clean bowl matters more than every contaminated one behind you. If someone you love eats oatmeal every morning because their doctor told them to, sending them this video is probably the most useful thing you can do with it. And drop a comment telling us which of these boxes is sitting in your pantry right now. Genuinely useful to see what's actually out there in people's kitchens.